All right, Coach, thanks for joining us here. Before we talk ball and talk about your path heading to be the DC here, we need to talk about why we're on the video conference and why we're not just doing this in person. And right about now, we would be on Rogers Field or in Martin Stadium for spring ball. So, uh, you know, we were in a pandemic. It's worldwide. It's nationwide. And we're trying to take these appropriate steps to end it and flatten the curve.
Well, I just think the biggest thing is it's very important for everybody out there to stay safe, practice the social distancing. I think that's what we're trying to do as coaches. But there's a big piece of me and what, we do here missing. It's exciting. You got a taste to really get in front of our guys, and the energy and the passion, that these guys are ready to play with is exceptional and can't wait. So whenever we get the green light, our guys are staying ready. I think the character of a man is what you do when nobody's watching. So coaches and players alike, this is our time to shine. This is where we're going to separate ourselves and just excited when we get a chance. And this is what I'm doing with the players right now in the one-on-ones. So life throws you a curveball. You just got to sit back and be ready to hit it, and that's what we're trying to do.
There are two extreme versions of a path to be a defensive coordinator in the Pac-12. And let's highlight one version. You play, for instance, for a Pac school, you go to the NFL, you're a Pro Bowler, you play for 10 years, and you can pick those guys out. There's another version where maybe you play wide receiver at Wisconsin Stevens Point, and you work your way up through various levels of football. What is that path like, that, of course, being yours?
Yeah, well, the first path is being born on third base, so we really didn't start there. It's a funny story. I was an offensive player really all my days in college, but my brother was on the same team, and he played center, so our coach, he said, hey, you're going to get into this coaching deal. I want you to be on the other side of the ball. It'll help you in your experience later. The thought was I'd always get back to coaching offense. And I got an opportunity to learn the defensive side of the ball and the structure of it. And I really found that it fit my personality and my mindset. Okay. And, then my break throughout my career was getting an opportunity to be the graduate assistant at North Dakota State. That's where it's really laid the foundation of who I am as a coach on the defensive side, schematically, and obviously following, Coach Bowl and how he's run a program. And then later in my career, getting the opportunity to kind of revisit with him. I always tell people it shapes me for who I am. Okay, I like to say I come from humble beginnings. At some point, Matt, I always say I'm going to have a humble ending. I'm just going to be sitting in a rocking chair looking at a cornfield when this thing's all done. So, but in order to do that, I think you have a chip on your shoulder. You're humble and hungry, and you're just excited.
Looking at a wheat field.
Yeah, well, Wisconsin's a little more corn and cows, so it's a small beginning. And then, it's throughout my travels. It was 8 moves in 10 years. And really with the goal of always wanting to get to this level of football. I always tell people I know my wife loves me. We have 3 small kids, and through this journey, she's been excited for every point. And we just really fit Pullman, and I got to the point in my career, loved the University of Wyoming where I was at, but this was the right time, the right place, and more importantly, the right people, So Pullman fits us, Pullman fits our family, and we're just excited for Cougar Nation and the energy that they have here. But definitely a different path to get to this point.
Let me go back a second. You said your brother was on the team and was a center.
Yeah.
How big was your brother, and what was your size when you were playing ball? Because you were a wide receiver.
Yeah, I always say we're definitely apples and oranges. It was funny because in high school, he was the offensive center. I was the quarterback. Oh, man, did my mom love that. She always thought that was the greatest thing, but she always never knew what he was doing. She could always see me, and she never knew what my brother was doing. So, I was so good at quarterback in college, they moved me to wide receiver instead, right? So I'm the classic case there, and had a great experience. But what I like to share about my experience with our players is I sold raffle tickets to get shorts and a T-shirt for fall camp, right? So just the appreciation for what we have here, what our players have, it's amazing. But anytime I start hearing complaints about the food and the great W, I say, this is what life was like for me at old D3 Stevens Point.
You you were coaching at Wyoming 2018. You were not the DC, but you were one of the assistants on the staff,
Yeah,
and you had the debut of Minshew and Borghi and uh, Abe Lucas and what he is now,
right.
and an 11-win Cougar team that almost won the pack and did win the Alamo Bowl. What do you recall from the offseason prep and then into what you saw in trying to stop Gardner Minshew in that Cougar offense?
Yeah, I mean it was unique because for us it was our second game, but it was their first game on Labor Day weekend. We did all of our back, so we watched ECU tape. I think he was a 5-game starter, and he walked away just going, okay. I mean, he's solid, right? You can see the arm, you can see some of the talent, you see some of the decision making. But we never saw that storm coming, and we knew Borghi because he was a Denver kid. I think he was on our radar for recruiting and all those things. And we knew they're very skilled at receiver. They had a first-round offensive tackle at that time. So it was one of those deals where we came in, but we felt we brought back a really, really strong defense. I think of those those starting 11, I think 5 of those guys are playing in the NFL. So we were ready and up for the challenge, and it was at home. And it was a slugfest until that fourth quarter, if you remember. And then they took over. They ended up, we were winning 20-19, and Leach came out, the wide receiver at center, all the linemen on one side, and they snapped it sideways. And that was like on a pivotal third down or something. And they ended up scoring on that drive and taking over. The worst part about that formation, I'm watching TV when Washington State beat USC. They did the same formation. In an instant, there were 5 flags because it was illegal for the center to have his shoulders turned. I was like, we could have used it that day, but it was great to see Minshew tear everybody else up the rest of the season.
So that play, we had watched him. I was obviously forbidden from speaking about it publicly, but
Right.
I'd watched him practice it, and they had kind of worked on it a little bit here or there, and that was kind of classic 4-down territory also. So Brink and I are in the broadcast booth, and we saw it, immediately knew what it was and knew what was coming, and we're super curious. It was our first chance to see how you guys would react. How's the defense going to react? Like, what's going to happen? And we're thinking about disaster scenarios because, AB was like, well, in the NFL or CFL, if they read it right, they house it because they kind of almost like pick the snap off because they're so fast. And we were all curious. And it was like, oh, it may be illegal if they snap it wrong and all this stuff. It was interesting.
That's why it's great to coach in the NFL. Some of that stuff is illegal by formation. But I was in the box, and it's an immediate scramble. You're trying to write down the formation, trying to find where's the tailback, where's the lineman, because our coordinator at the time just like, draw it up, draw it up, draw it up. And there's kind of mass panic, and you're in the middle of the third quarter in a tight game. So that goes to the mindset of what they used to be like. So it on the defensive side is trying to stay calm and draw it up, but then once they run it, they do it again. And, we don't get a chance to, talk about it on the sideline and those type of things. So it's just like you would imagine, it's a little bit of a scramble at that point.
Do you have with sometimes 4-2-5 or 3-3-5, actually in terms of defensive scheme, I don't want to say it's misleading. It's meaningful, but if it's a 3-3-5, but one of the linebackers is right up on the line, it's really like a 4-2-5. And
Right.
generally than that, do you feel like you prefer or have a version or a vision where it's we like speed or we like strength or we like man or we like zone? Very, very vaguely, do you feel like there's a certain emphasis where you say this is the way we want to get stops?
Well, I think for the most part, I've always been a huge believer in zone coverages and eyes on the football. Okay. In 2017, we led all of college football in takeaways by 5. Okay. So we didn't have a chain. We didn't have a throw, nothing, right? Just old school football. But I truly believe when you get eyes on the football, the ball scores, right? So tips, overthrows, and you got to be variants and you got to change things up a lot. And we'll play some man to pressure packages, but as much as we can, get eyes on the football, have everyone rallying. I know it's not like like a rallying cry for a defense, but eliminate the explosive plays. Okay, and fans sometimes don't want to hear that, but the longer you go and you bend but don't break, okay, the offense is going to mess up. They're going to drop a ball. They're going to hold. You're going to get them behind the chains, and then you got to win those series. So we like to, we'll be in our NFL style cover 3 mainly. We have a lot of variances off of that. But the biggest thing, we're in the process of finding out what our guys do well. Okay, so I don't want to say, hey, let's just put these guys in a box. Let's do what we've always done. If we got man cover guys, play man, right? We got zone cover physical corners. Let's play more quarter, half. So it'll be a fit to what our guys do well within the schemes of what we want to do.
Is there any player that you've seen that jumps out at you so much that you say, all right, zone, bend but don't break, but boy, he's so good at this thing that we need to cater to this a little bit?
Well, I think Armani Marsh and Skylar Thomas are 2 guys that I think are really versatile within our 4-2-5. I think both of them can play both safety spots, the nickel, blitz, man. They're probably 2 of the more versatile guys that I've had in this package of style. So I think they're both ball hawks. I love the way they can man coverage and create matchups. So we're going to kind of use those 2 guys in unique ways to find ways for us to attack and use their strengths. But so far, I think those 2 have kind of, from what we've seen, which has just been workouts. We didn't get a single spring ball practice in. I like what those guys can do and the multiplicity they bring, because I think in this league, you got to be able to defend the slot. Okay, and I think it's a really good league as far as what they do with the inside receivers and teams. So we got to be able to defend those guys in multiple ways, and those 2 really stand out of being able to create matchups in our favor.
Coug fans have I think they've wrapped their heads around in a lot of ways. If you give up yardage between the 20s, and like you're talking about, and then you bow up and it's either a field goal or maybe even a stop, right, you can win a lot of games that way. You trade 7s for 3s. There are W's that come along with that.
That's great. And we'll never evaluate ourselves on defense by yards. It's the biggest misnomer, right? So last year, we were number 1 in the country in red zone touchdown percentage. It is something that we hammer, we talk about, we emphasize. And to your point, you want to be a good points per game defense, keep them out of the end zone, right? Give them a field goal attempt, bend but don't break. So those are some emphasis. Winning 3rd down is another huge one for us, getting off the field. Because how our offense can roll. Those guys in the run and shoot, we had to defend it in 17 and 18. Man, they do one of the best jobs I've seen of utilizing the whole field, but yet utilizing the run game with the spacing. So let's get the ball back to the offense, go drink Gatorade and watch them do their thing.
Who are the best players you've coached? Who are the defensive players you coached that changed, that did things that other guys just can't do, that are really special?
I think you have a little recency bias, but I'll hit you with a couple. There's going to be a draft pick here in 2 weeks, Logan Wilson. He's an inside linebacker for Wyoming. And the unique part about Logan is he came there as a high school corner at 6'2", 190 pounds. At the combine, he was 6'2 and a half, 245. Wow. Okay, so he runs like the wind, one of the smartest players I've ever been around, humble. He's right up there as far as linebackers. I had 2 safeties, and I've been blessed, right? I had 2 safeties at the same school. Marcus Epps is with the Eagles. He got drafted. And then Dewey Wingard, he's with the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. He set the Mountain West record for tackles at 452 as a safety. Right? So just a tackling machine. We were his only offer there. He was a running back in high school. Marcus was a walk-on, and he was just, I've never seen a more competitive guy in Dewey. I've never seen a more just working, just grit guy than Marcus. And then take it all the way back to Minnesota State Mankato, Josh Gordon. Right?
Nice.
I'll give Josh a shout-out. He had 17 and a half sacks in one season. He was up for the Player of the Year award when we went to the national championship game in 2014. Same thing. He only played 1 year of high school football. That's why he ended up there. Per level, Josh Gordon, Mankato was probably the best player per level that I've ever seen. And same thing. When your hardest player, okay, when your best player works the hardest, like those four guys, that's when you have real team chemistry and can really, when you coach your best player the hardest, it's a good deal. If I left anybody out, I apologize, but those are the four that stick out to me.
You're getting me all fired up, Coach. Now I'm like, we need to get to spring ball. We need to end this.
You should see me in my install meetings. I'm just like, oh, my heart's pumping after. The guys are fired up. They're engaged. You're just ready to get out there. And like I said, when we get the green light, our guys are going to be ready. They're going to be prepped. They're going to be fired up. So, that's what I'm saying. Everyone's just staying ready to go.
Thank you for this time. Be safe, be well. We've talked on the record now here 2 or maybe 3 times, and it really is a pleasure every time. I can't wait to really get more into it with you guys and spend some time watching you guys on the field and talk to you about it. And I can't wait to get to it. So be safe, and we'll do it.
The biggest thing I just want the fans to know is you're going to be proud of the way we play. Okay, you're going to see us play hard, play fast, play together. I'm just excited to get this group of guys back together and get rolling. So stay safe out there, Cougs, and go Cougs.
Go Cougs.